Well, good evening, and thank you for joining me for this monthly meetup. This particular group, and hopefully you're in the right place, is multifamily is better than residential investing. And tonight's topic will be creating forced appreciation in apartments. Again, this is Mario Joyner, host and organizer of this monthly meetup. And I am pleased and honored to bring this particular topic to you. If you so happen to join us last month, this was one of the 7 reasons why multifamily investing is better than residential investing. And this was one of the 7. It was on forced appreciation, and it's so unique to apartments and commercial properties. I want to do a deeper dive this month into this particular topic. So here's what you can expect tonight by way of agenda. I will have a few friendly reminders. For those who joined last month, they'll be exactly the same. For those who may be new, this will be consistent with our friendly reminders. Secondly, I will give you a formal thank you for attending and let you know what to expect from this particular meetup group. I will give you a formal introduction on me and who I am, and certainly my background and why I feel that I am qualified to have this discussion with you tonight, and why I'm excited to be taking this journey with you in this community. The 2 different types of appreciation, and specifically we'll talk about forced appreciation. Be a nice summary and wrap up. And then I will invite you to join me next month for next month's topic. So here are the friendly reminders. This will be an ongoing monthly discussion. All of our topics will consist of topics that are around multifamily and why multifamily is better than single family investing. We will have, the last couple of months have been on apartments specifically, but as we know, multifamily is a broader topic and a broader discussion, and also has other broader properties besides apartments. So we will spend some time there, but for right now, we're going to focus on apartments. I ask that you keep an open mind throughout the entirety of this presentation, and most importantly, stay until the end. There's a lot of great information here. I will be respectful of your time. This will be at an hour or just under. And I'm sure that you will leave out of here with some information you may not have known, or if nothing else, it'd be a great reminder of some good information you heard before. Here's what you can expect from this particular group, the multifamily investing is better than residential investing meetup group. We will meet monthly. Right now, that seems to be the frequency that works. And we'll discuss many topics related to multifamily investing. There'll be some actionable content here that you will leave with after each particular meeting that you can use immediately to build or grow your multifamily portfolio. My availability, feel free to contact me directly with any questions from this particular presentation or any of your multifamily investing needs. The length of this presentation, just in a reiteration, it will be just at or under 60 minutes today, but for this and future presentations, it will be roughly 60 to 90 minutes. Here's a little bit about my background. My name again is Mario Joyner. I am a realtor as well as an investor. I've lived in the Las Vegas area or in the Valley since 2002. I've been assisting clients with building wealth in multiple asset classes since 1995. I started as a financial consultant, and then I moved into residential lending. I have been a business development officer, so I've assisted business owners with growing their wealth, which for most was concentrated in their business. I've been a real estate agent since 2015, focusing on residential primarily. And as of 2020, 2019-ish, I started to expand my offerings into commercial. But I've also been a commercial lender as well as residential lender since 2002. And I've been an active investor since 1997. So let's start off with the definition. What is forced appreciation? So increasing net operating income, or better known as NOI, and or decreasing operating expenses. Now, forced appreciation happens when the investor controls the value of an investment property due to the increase in net operating income, or again, NOI, which is the money your property generates. Now, you increase NOI in one or both ways, by decreasing your operating expenses and or increasing your rental income. Basically, forced appreciation is buying something that's Not so good of a real estate investment today, but making it into a really good investment later on. Now, what I consider to be armchair investors, they aren't looking for or bidding on these types of properties, which reduces your competition and increases your profitability. And what you learned today about forced appreciation, it's a great way to evaluate opportunities. And I'll give you about 28 different tactical strategies you can use to evaluate an opportunity. If you currently own an apartment community, these are 28 tactical and actionable strategies that you can put into place for your existing apartment community. So this information can be used either way. And now that I've defined forced appreciation, let's compare it with what's more widely known, which is natural appreciation. Now, natural appreciation, quite simply, is for the most part, you have zero control over, right? It occurs when demand for properties outweighs the available supply. Interest rate changes and inflation are other major factors. Now, we saw this in the early 2000s. Homes were just appreciating all over the country, and it was just simply a supply demand. The prices were running up. There was nothing you could do or had to do. Your home was just worth more, it seemed like every day. Then 08, 09, just the opposite happened, and that extended to 2010 or so. And that same home that you've been making payments on, you did everything you were supposed to do from a fiscally responsible responsibility side, that your home was worth about 50% less, particularly if you lived in Las Vegas, and it had nothing to do with what you did or didn't do or how well you managed to maintain your home. It's just, it was controlled by supply and demand. It was also controlled by interest rate changes and inflation. So that's two examples of how natural appreciation or depreciation occurs. And again, your property can absolutely be negatively affected if the value is determined by comparables, as is the case with most single family investments. It is completely controlled by the homes around you that are like and similar. Now, forced appreciation is not influenced by uncontrollable market forces. It's influenced by the investor's proactive and tactical strategies. So in other words, it's within our control. We largely have a lot of control over what happens with increasing the value via forced appreciation. Now, multifamily properties are valued by the income that the property generates, which means that if we can find ways to increase the income, we will force the property to appreciate in value. Now, even if a nearby comparable property gets into trouble and they have to sell for pennies on the dollar, the valuation of the property will not be affected because the value in the property is determined by income and not comparables. And that's a great thing to know as it relates to multifamily properties. So here's 4 benefits of forced appreciation and why it's a great investment option. Just better cash flow. So we know if we control the revenue side by increasing it, and we also control the expense side by decreasing it, we're going to have better cash flow. So we can affect it in both ways, or if we just simply increase our income, it'll increase our cash flow. Or if we decrease the expenses and keep our income steady, it'll increase our cash flow. The tax advantages associated with forced appreciation are largely because of depreciation. Now, if you know, depreciation is a deductible expense of a physical asset over its useful life. And in residential real estate, that happens to be 27.5 years. 27.5 years. However, there is an opportunity to accelerate this depreciation through a special tax study called cost segregation. Now, that's a whole entire topic on its own, but it's a way for you to accelerate your depreciation and therefore create some tax advantages because of forced appreciation. Thirdly, it is the number one way real estate investors become millionaires. They create value add or forced appreciation. And as I mentioned on the last slide, it is controlled. Forced appreciation is controlled appreciation. Now, if you remember from last month, those that were here or those who are new, I had this slide which showed 7 ways to force appreciation on multifamily properties. Now, I've already mentioned 2, one of which is increasing rent, adding facilities, adding services, rent extra space, charge extra fees, I also mentioned reducing the expenses, and lastly, improvements. These are 7, and I'll give you 28 by the time we're done tonight, ways to force appreciation on multifamily properties. Here's a simple calculation using one of those 7, which was increasing the rent. And I wanted to start off first with the formula. Now, property appreciation is equal to net operating income, or NOI, divided by cap rate. And for this particular example, we're going to look at a 20-unit property valued at $1 million. Current rents are $800 a unit. The expenses are $200 per unit. That doesn't include taxes or mortgage. Cap rate here is a little high from what you'll see now, 14.4%. But again, this is for illustrative purposes only. And we'll show a simple increase of rent of $25 per month per unit. Now, first, you calculate NOI before the increase, right? So you take your 20 units, you subtract it from the 800 in income minus 200 in expenses, so $600 times 12, that gets you a net operating income of $144,000. Now, let's show that rent increase of $25 per month on 20 units at $25 a month. So that adds an additional $500 a month in income. Now we're going to take the NOI after the increase. So we use those same 20 units. Now we're going to use 825 minus 200. So our expenses stay stagnant and static. So now that 625 times 12 gets us $150,000. Now, if we want to see what the appreciation from just that simple $25 per month rent increase per unit over that 1 year period, we would take that NOI, the new NOI of $150,000, use that same cap rate of 14.4%. You'll see we just created a nearly $42,000 increase in value by a simple $25 per month per unit increase. And I'm sure if your market's like mine, we're not seeing $25 per month per unit. We're seeing at least $100, $200 a month increases over the course of a renewal. Now, a lot of times, most people will associate forced appreciation with the exit strategy, right? When you sell it. So what are the benefits to me by utilizing some of these tactics and strategies for refinance purposes while I still own the property? Now, obviously, as I mentioned to you before, that's where the obvious benefit comes into play. But by increasing the value of the property, your loan to value ratio goes down when you compare the two loans of equal principals. Now, this means that your interest rate will also go down. So your loan to value goes down, which means your amount outstanding goes down, which typically nets you a much better risk because you're borrowing less funds versus the value of the property. Now, when refinancing the investment property, it is not a taxable event because you're just borrowing money, not selling the property. And this is because capital gains are taxable at the sale of the property rather than a refinance or mid-hold. So some people may associate this with the BRRRR strategy if you're a single family investor, where you buy a property, you create the value, you refinance, you pull your equity out, and now you let the cash flow of the property support your return of equity, and you've also done so without creating a taxable income for yourself. So that mirrors, if you're familiar with single family investing, which I'm sure you are, the BRRRR strategy. That's one aspect of it. So now I'm going to jump into the 28 tactical ways that you can force appreciation. And we know in any sense of real estate, particularly as it relates to real property, whether it's single family or otherwise, kitchens and bathrooms always add value to your property. And in this case, if you look at upgrading your kitchen, if you had a tile countertop and you go to granite, or just updating the cabinets or flooring in the kitchen, that it could be add significant value to your community. It could be for a prospective tenant coming in to see what you're doing. It could also help you to retain tenants and charge a little more rent because you've updated the unit just by updating the kitchen. Same thing with bathrooms. In this particular example, we're going to add a bathroom. So let's turn a 2-bedroom, 1-bath unit into a 2-bedroom, 2-bath unit. And that's a great way to increase rent because we've added a bathroom if that's at all possible to do. So as we know, we can command a higher rent for that second bathroom, but we have to offer a little bit of a discount if we have 2 bedrooms and only 1 bath. If we upgrade the bathrooms, so we don't add one, but just upgrade it, add a new vanity, take out the shower tub combo and just have a luxury shower, that's a great way of updating or upgrading your bathroom. Certainly the tile, the flooring, mirrors, painting, fixtures, that which I'll get to, and there's some things you can do within the bathroom that could update and upgrade the bathroom. New flooring. So if you have carpet throughout, as we know, it's very popular now to go with laminate or tile or even vinyl wood-looking floor. Adds a lot of durability to your flooring, keeps your units maintained, and it's just a more durable product. And it could be a great way for you to kind of freshen up or modernize your unit by simply adding new flooring. Here's just new fixtures. It's amazing how much just some new light fixtures could impact the value and just give the property a facelift or the unit a facelift by merely just adding new fixtures to your space. Improve curb appeal. As we know, landscaping goes a long way when you talk about improving the marketability of your units. Certainly it's the first impression that a current tenant or prospective tenant will have. We all know that when we pull into our apartment community, there is some pride there, and we want our friends and family to know we're in a safe place, a nice neighborhood that's desirable, not only from their perspective, but from our own. So improving your curb appeal could have a massive, massive, massive improvement in your marketability of your units. Something that's very popular here, and I'm sure in other places around the country, adding dog parks, right? So just by adding a simple dog park, you can offer an amenity that can decrease your tenant turnover. So if you're already offering to have pets on the premises, giving them somewhere to play, to congregate, and allowing your tenants who have pets to congregate and form a community can be a great way to decrease your turnover and to attract some quality tenants with a very minimal investment associated with it. So if you're looking to decrease your tenant turnover, maybe looking to attract better quality tenants, adding a dog park can certainly do that. Now, another function here, RUBS, and RUB stands for Ratio Utility Billing System. It's a way to pass on utility costs to your tenants. We have a lot of older apartment communities here in Las Vegas that are master metered, which means that the landlord is paying for most, if not all, of the utilities. And so that becomes a pretty hefty expense for the landlord to bear. And certainly by individually metering the units and being able to pass on the utility costs back to the tenants for their usage, that actually, first, it gives you the ability of collecting some income to offset your utility expenses. But secondly, you also are decoupling the utility pricing from your business. So now that's not a part of your P&L. It becomes, well, it is, but it shows it as income. You don't have the expense of the utility itself. So that's a great way, and a lot of properties are marketing themselves as value add, and the value add largely is because and due to RUBs. So you'll see that primarily in a lot of older buildings where it may have just been master metered instead of individually metered. And again, these are tactical strategies you can use whether you're evaluating a new opportunity and you want to find out how to make it a deal, or if you currently own a portfolio and you want to find out how to force appreciation on a community that you already have. So I'll continue here. So we're going to utilize some wasted space. Now, we know in many apartment communities, they put an office in a vacant unit. And some other ideas to better utilize that wasted space is to rent it out as storage or to use it as an amenity to your property. I've seen some communities turn it into a small fitness center. I've seen some communities turn it into a small business center, but they repurpose that space so that it brings value and adds value to not only the community, but also add some value to the existing tenants and offers an amenity that otherwise would have been wasted space by just having an office or just being vacant. They've turned that into some useful space that people can benefit from. You can always just improve the amenities that you have, right? So if you have a community that has a pool area or any other existing amenity, give it a facelift. It can really improve a potential renter's opinion of your place. We know at some point we're going to have turnover, so we not only want to make our property as appealing as possible to our existing tenants, but also to any prospective tenants as well. So if you can take the time with minimal investment to give your existing amenities a facelift, you will definitely see it as a benefit for your new tenants, particularly if you're in a situation where you expect high turnover because you're making heavy improvements into the property. Having those done will allow you the opportunity to command a better rent premium. And overall, just reducing your expenses, right? So you can do that from having property management company and having a conversation with your property management company and saying, hey, listen, how many other properties do you manage? How can we go in and buy in bulk or utilize economies of scale for the necessary items that's going to be existing and prevalent in any apartment community? So have that conversation with your property manager, or if you are looking at opportunities and you're interviewing prospective property management companies, ask them how you can take that P&L that you'll be provided and they can help you reduce expenses through economies of scale. Now, if you're going to have the dog park, of course, it's going to be incumbent upon you and certainly within your bounds to charge a pet fee or pet rent. So just to give you an example for just frame of reference, at a 5 cap, $25 a month in extra pet rent will add $6,000 a year based upon the number of units that we're using in this example. So that's going to be a $6,000 value to your building with merely just a $25 a month extra pet fee. So you'll see anytime you add to income, it has an exponential impact on the value that it creates. Let's continue. So let's add some storage units. So this is an opportunity to turn some unused interior space into storage lockers. So you could set up an interior storage facility, of course, or with space around the apartment community, you could certainly build storage lockers as outbuildings on your property. Now, what this does is gives you an extra income stream, and it saves your tenants from having to pay for outside storage. I'm sure they much rather have all their belongings on property than have to travel to their respective storage units, get whatever items they need, and then come home to return them. If they had it on site, I'm sure they'd be willing to pay you for the ability to offer storage. And as we know, that's such a known commodity, which is why we have so many storage facilities around. This is relatively new, this trash valet service. So instead of your tenants taking the trash all the way out to the dumpster, you can offer a premium service where once or twice a week, your staff can take that trash to the dumpster for them. And I'm sure there's many people that would pay for that benefit and certainly would add to your top line numbers or income numbers for your property. So if you're going to do the dog walk, you can certainly do a community garden or a walk trail. That's pretty popular out here as well. By starting a community garden or walking trail, you can offer an amenity that can just, again, decrease your turnover and attract quality tenants with very minimal investment. You have the landscaping out there, you have the space, so you can just dedicate it or commit it to a walk trail or community garden and give people some level of zen, somewhere to go and decompress and have some quiet time. There's just a lot of benefit to that. And certainly if you add a walking trail, it also becomes cardiovascular as well. Now you can become an internet provider. Now, if you get a large fiber connection, setting up the infrastructure to become an ISP on your property can give you a large revenue opportunity and provide your tenants with an affordable access to the internet. So this you'll see more and more larger communities, and I'm sure it will work its way down to some of the smaller ones where you can actually become your own ISP for your community and give your tenants the infrastructure they need to conduct business. A lot of work from home, a lot of work remotely, just a lot of usage and need for great internet service provider for all the need that we have for the internet. One of the lowest hanging fruits associated with forcing appreciation is you'll see a lot of self-managed apartment communities. They just don't do a great job of marketing, right? They have all the tenants they need. That's all they may do by way of marketing, is just when they need a tenant. But if you could rebrand and create some marketing, consistent marketing around it, you'll be surprised in how you can change the appeal of your community once you are looking for new tenants. They'll have a great expectation for what they are going to receive, and it could therefore allow you to charge a bit more than you would if you did not have great marketing and branding in place. Something else that's fairly new as a way to force appreciation is taking some of your units, and some are committing all of their apartment units to short-term rentals. Airbnb, and there's other platforms, of course, that allow you the ability to market your short-term rentals. This, of course, is great if you're in proximity to some great attractions and just in a very desirable area. But there are some apartment owners that are looking at Airbnb for a portion of the community and or all of the community in some cases. So because you're doing this, it allows you to charge more per night than you would by just having a regular monthly rental. So give that some thought too, as a way to force appreciation. Laundry is one that's been around, tried and true. It seems to always work. Adding a laundry room to your property, if you don't have in-room or in-unit washer and dryers, is a great way to capture additional revenue, keeps your tenants from going to a laundromat off property. And if you already have a laundry room, improving it by adding more machines or making it nicer can capture additional revenue as well. Now here's an interesting one, a vending machine or vending machine. So here's an example. If you made $100 per building, you had 5 buildings, and your community is valued at a 5 cap, that would be a $120,000 increase in the value of the community. If you do 5 buildings, $100 per building, 12 months, divide that by the cap rate, you see it increase the value of your community by $120,000. So I thought that was a great one that, although it's been around, it still works, and you see it's a huge bump to the value of your community by merely just having it. All right, moving on. Here's some other ways to force appreciation. Preferred parking. So particularly this works if you have surface parking. So if you have surface parking, typically in the communities I've lived in or visited, it's just first come, first serve. But if you took a portion of those surface parking spots and made them preferred parking, I'm sure you could see and receive a premium for those spaces by charging for them. Now, you can still have your, out in Vegas here, there's a lot of carports, so you can still have your dedicated carport. But if most people have 2 cars, so if you offered them a preferred space, although uncovered, but just a parking space that was preferred and also reserved, I'm certain that you could offer and you could command some additional income for that. If you have a clubhouse, rent it out. Allow it to be used by guests for a fee. So that's another way that's obviously been out there. But if you aren't already doing it in the community you have, if you're looking at a new opportunity that has a clubhouse, find out if they're renting it out. And if not, maybe that's something you can do to add to your analysis or evaluation of that property. Another biggie is online reputation management. So one way to increase the income of a community is by doing online reputation management. You can approach this from both the offense and defense, right? So you can be proactive in your online reputation management by responding to comments that may be there, or certainly you can, and that's be more on the defensive side, or you can just show how well people like and appreciate your community by being on the offense. But online reputation management is very critical. I know my wife looks at everybody's comments before she makes a purchase online. So she is not uncommon or unique in that way. So your online reputation management is very, very important. Having a fitness center. So if you can improve or upgrade your existing fitness center, that'd be great to make it just more useful to your tenants. But another thing you can do to create more or foster a greater sense of community is by just offering group classes for free. as a way to create, again, that sense of community and increase the average length of tenant stays. So instead of them having to go out and join a gym, pay a separate membership, if you had an adequate fitness center, they may just use yours. And if you add to that some classes that you'd offer for free, it may create a longer tenant stay and certainly would make your property desirable for those who like and appreciate a sense of community by doing so by way of fitness. You can certainly reduce maintenance expenses. So one example I give here is if you have certain items that you notice on your profit and loss statement or on the profit and loss statement that always seems to be a repair, why not just purchase a new one that's not going to give you those same consistent and chronic maintenance requests and needs, and also may create some greater efficiency. One that comes to mind is something like HVAC. That's one that you could easily replace if you have a bad unit that always seems to need repair. Maybe you just make the capital expenditure and buy a new one. And because of that, you'll see that you can reduce your maintenance expense on those items or such items. Reducing your management fees. So if you have an in-house property management, then improving their efficiency can certainly decrease your expense tremendously. If you can look over your profit and loss statement, and I suggest you do this monthly, look for trends or look for trend reports and find out where your property manager can start saving you money. As I mentioned in a few slides back, if you can have them leverage purchases that they're already making for other properties that they manage, it may help and save you on some of your regular items and supplies that you need. Cable. So we talked about internet, but cable as well. Did you know that cable providers will often pay a fee to be the exclusive provider in your building or community? That's also another possible way to increase your revenue in multifamily portfolio or property. So appliance packages, moving out some of the older black or white appliances and with some more modern stainless steel style appliances, you may be able to charge a premium on the unit to the tenant that's there. But certainly for any newer tenant or prospective tenant, them knowing that there's newer units versus older, you may be able to command a bit higher rent premium as a result. So those were 28 ways that you can certainly force appreciation on multifamily properties. So hopefully you got you were thinking a lot about the different ways you can force appreciation in your multifamily property or a property you may be doing some analysis work on right now for potential offer or potential purchase. There are lots of ways to either increase your multifamily's revenue or decreases expenses. And hopefully these are just some, but there's a ton more of ideas that can help you build a strategy for next time you're underwriting a multifamily property. So I spent a lot of time, of course, talking about all the positives, and there are numerous, as you saw, related to forced appreciation. But with all that's good, let me share the other side of it. So 3 drawbacks here, and the main drawback is that it's typically just a one-time benefit. You won't see the bulk of the financial return until you sell the property. However, forced appreciation is not only limited to the property value, as we discussed, but it also can be seen in smaller increments based upon increased rental income. So if you're turning your units over with newer appliances and you're updating the kitchens and the bathrooms, you may not see the benefit all at once, but over time, as you turn those units, you will see an incremental increase in the forced appreciation. Another drawback is just the amount of time you spend analyzing potential properties, right? So for those that are looking for new opportunities, learning what works in your area takes a lot of boring analysis. But once you figured it out, you'll be able to easily repeat that process or move on to finding other ways to force appreciate properties. Now, I can tell you from experience that very few people do this and miss out on some great opportunities because they don't know these tactical strategies that I shared with you to create value, force appreciation. And one of the things that comes to mind, as I mentioned before, was RUBS, taking that master metered property and individually metering it. That's one that everybody's looking at right now as a way. But as a drawback, if nobody else in the immediate vicinity is switching or changing to individually metered versus master metered, you may not want to do that. Although it could save you a lot of money, it could also price you out of your tenants, and they may just go to the communities that do not have the individually metered units because they're going to pay a more pro rata amount per month versus knowing what their fixed costs are and not having to worry about the utilities and some of your other competitors. So keep in mind and make sure you can get everybody to do it, but certainly you don't want to be the only one that's implementing RUBS. And that's just an example of another drawback that I mentioned. Although great strategy, may not work in your particular area. So be mindful of that. The third drawback is just the specialized knowledge of forced appreciation. Now, in this context, it means if you want to get a good return on your investments, you have to be willing to put in the effort and time when researching potential properties and their location. So there is a time and effort and sweat equity commitment involved in these strategies, of course. And you have to account for your time and cost that it takes to do this kind of research. You will want to learn from mentors and understand the intricacies of finding the right property for forced appreciation investment. You don't want to just jump on this and learn as you go, because that will most likely turn into a huge financial problem for you. So how can we help? So again, I mentioned this last month, but West Coast Off-Market PropertyFinder.com is a site that I manage and run. It is a concierge property location service. So these are truly off-market properties. We have relationships with portfolio owners, REITs, hedge funds, etc. And we will customize a search for you. And as a result of that, in those relationships, we'll find a property that matches what you're looking for. And I'll share with you some of the other things that we do once we found it. And if you move forward with an opportunity and need some help with underwriting, we certainly can offer you some help and assistance with that. And if you want us to take it to the next step and help you find the appropriate lender, so loan placement or any kind of analysis services, we can do that for you as well. But it's all derived from the next steps I'm going to describe to you by using my website, our website, West Coast Off-Market PropertyFinder.com. So here's the front page of that site. Again, it's West Coast Off-Market Property Finder Placement Service. You see, simply you just put in your name and email address, and it will take you to a place where you can start to create your own search parameters. And what I thought I'd do is kind of outline for you the 8-step process that we take you through once you've decided to engage us. And again, this is free to set up. You submit your property search parameters, right? And then secondly, you will use our private network to locate the best property match based upon the criteria that you've given us. If we locate a property for you, we will provide you with the property address. After that, once we provide you with the property address, you're to drive and or view the property for visual inspection within 48 hours of receipt. Again, these are off-market properties. We have a very short window in which to make a decision because these aren't for sale. We're trying to make them available for you. And so as a result, part of the commitment to get the information I'll share with the remaining steps is that you respond and respond quickly. Step 5, if you're interested in moving forward with the property, we will forward you the current property financials, including the rent roll. So you have everything you need to make a financial decision on that. Once you have that information, you'll have 48 hours to present an offer if you're interested. And we'll provide you with all the required documentation for making that offer. And after that, our job is then to get your offer accepted as is. That's our job. And if we are successful in doing our job and getting your offer accepted, you'll be required to open escrow with a local title company. So that's the simple, straightforward 8-step process, but it all starts with you setting up your search parameters. And from there, we'll move on to each step and we'll do it in accordance to what's worked for us in the past. Now, if you want to have a conversation, certainly here's a phone number that you can reach me at, 702-941-4040. There's also an email address, admin@westcoastoffmarketpropertyfinder.com. And on social media, that's Instagram at West Coast Off Market Property Finder, my Facebook page, as well as YouTube channel. I thank you for your time, and I know I'll stay within my 1 hour bounds. So I thank you for joining me tonight and listening to this presentation. And again, thank you for staying to the end. I know there's some actionable information that was there. And I know that if you give us the opportunity next month, we'll bring you more value, more topics, and more actionable ideas. Thank you so much for attending tonight, and hopefully we'll see you next month.